Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
You got a light, buddy?
Yeah, sure, kid. There you go.
And your wallet.
Nick, give him your wallet.
What for?
He's got a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
Shit.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie.
And I'm Sweaty.
Whoa. Can anyone guess from that rousing Australian intro what movie we did today?
Oh, this is as good as it's going to get. I just try to keep going with it, but I can't. Australian's like the one accent that I really can't do at all.
I can't do it at all.
So it'll be fun later. But we did.
Crocodile Dundee.
What? Air quotes.
Yeah. I was just like feeling, sometimes you just get into movie moods. You just are like, damn, I love this movie. I haven't seen it in a while. I want to watch it. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about this one for a while because did someone posted a GIF or something or like on Twitter and we like responded to it and I was like, oh my God, best movie ever, best ending. I love the ending so much. And it just roused my spirits for the good old Croc Dundee. So yeah, Sweetie here had not seen this movie, she recalls, since she was 5 years old. So that's sad.
That was an estimate. And it is based on the fact that I didn't remember anything about it except for the part when Carl Winslow throws a limo antenna boomerang at a bad guy.
Totes.
That's all I remembered.
Yeah, big scene. Big scene.
Followed up to a family trip to Florida when a black guy driving a limo drove by and Liz, our older sister, was like, Andre, look, it's the dad from Family Matters. And I totally fell for it because that's what I knew.
Wait, that's like two references there. That's the Carl Winslow reference and then the Crocodile Dundee reference.
I know, but I fell for it because I knew that the dad from Family Matters was in Crocodile Dundee and was a limo driver. So it was super confusing for me as a child. So that was just those are my memories. So
I think that's a fable. You created that up.
No, I did not. I have the best memory. Give me a break.
So I saw this movie a couple years ago. Again, got the Crocodile Dundee craving one Sunday, rainy Sunday, and watched it, and it was awesome. Watched it again. This movie is fucking awesome. I love it. It might be one of my favorites.
Whoa.
Sorry, Sweetie, accuse me of every time I say this is one of my favorite movies that I go into a really quiet voice, and I just wanted to prove it wrong.
No, it's not that. It's like you have a lot of favorites.
And I have a lot of favorites.
You're always top 10.
I have a lot of favorites, but this one for me, so definitely I know obviously so many of these movies that we talk about our dad loved, and that's why we loved a lot of these movies because Dad did. Mm-hmm. Dad loved this fucking movie.
Yeah,
he thought it was the greatest fucking thing ever. And Dad, I totally agree with you. And aside from a very outdated, insensitive transgender joke, I think it holds up.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Was it entertaining? Did you enjoy it?
Yes. I mean, I think it's really entertaining. The only problem that I can see from a film critic point of view is that there's not really a central conflict.
True. Well, you don't think it is that she is basically almost engaged and there's that whole dynamic is that she's struggling with okay, do I go with the safe bet of Richard who has money or
I guess,
or do I go with this guy who I just really
but
just
it's
think
not really
he's great.
Fleshed out. It's not,
it's very quick.
Nothing's
quick.
at stake or something. I'm not sure if that's the
Yeah,
right term, but it's just there feels like there's something bigger missing. Yeah. Like romantic comedies are tricky because it's the love story can most of the times be the conflict, but there's usually something that's kind of at stake, right? Like Pretty Woman, she's a prostitute and he can't let people know she's a prostitute or something. So that's kind of the conflict, right? This, everything's out in the open, and it's just like he's just enjoying New York City, and things are
definitely.
silly.
But isn't that
and
a little
like,
bit of like what would be her hesitation of being with Mick? Is that he's like basically this like backcountry hick, and like she comes from a very wealthy family, and her dad owns a newspaper.
We already saw her roughing it, so it's not like
it's almost like she's just trying to break the mold of like who everyone thinks she is by kind of like, you know, she's into adventure and excitement, and that's what like really Mick meant to her. And like doing stuff like out of her normal comfort zone, right? And she really enjoyed that, and obviously really just like loved him. But that's like, I mean, it is really hard. But I think and sometimes it's better to keep it simple, which this movie like really did. And as it races along, and what I also like about this movie is that, okay, obviously the main theme of this movie is fish out of water, right? And that is like such a common trope.
And Sweetie's favorite,
my favorite
movie trope.
It's probably the only one I know, so I call it all the time. I'm like, fish out of water, fish out of water. But this one's kind of interesting because they do it, both of them are fish out of water in different parts of the movie, right? So it's like from both sides. So you go in the beginning where Sue is the fish out of water in Australia, and then obviously the larger part is the more comedic part is when Mick is a fish out of water in New York City. So I think that dynamic is so cool because it's never just like all one or the other over the top, which like fish out of water can get a little old when you're like, okay, we get it. Like he's a new man in a strange land or whatever. And I just like love that balance. But like that guy is such like, I don't know if he did like much of anything else, and I'm sure he was like an actor in Australia, much more well known. But he's just like so great in this, and you like believe it. Like you think like I literally before we saw this movie, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is based on his life. Okay, it is not. He is an actor. It's like a character he like quote unquote created, and actually they think it is based on some guy, and I'll talk about that later.
Think you should make. I think I'm just gonna we can put this in your book of ideas, but I think that you should write a book like the history of the world according to Sweetie, and it'll be like all the things you've thought like over your whole life, like in the cutting edge. The last scene is the
Sweetie Fables. I mean, basically, Sweetie
Fables. I love it.
But yeah, so great. So it came out in 1986.
Woo!
Sweetie here, birth year. So it's kind of her spirit animal movie. Maybe no.
I think there's another one that we said that about.
Third highest grossing movie of that year. Behind. Did you read the trivia or no?
I did, but I don't remember that one.
So can you do any guesses of what it was behind? Well, so it was first and second.
Other 1986 movies?
Yeah, if you remember.
No.
Okay. Good guess.
I'm stumped.
Good guess, but no. Top Gun, number one.
Yeah.
So that's pretty obvious. And then Platoon, number two. Gruesome. Ooh, ugh.
I've never seen that. And I love Vietnam movies.
I had to watch it in 10th grade history class, Scarred for Life.
Yeah, I bet.
Charlie Sheen is all I remember in that.
Probably
I know
why
there's other people in it, but
you hate gun violence.
I don't like Vietnam ones. They're just so fucking sad.
What? I think it's the best like movie war thing because there's so many themes and
well, now that I'm better with violence, I think I should do a rewatch of many of the war ones because they are like pretty good. So yeah. Anyway, starring Paul Hogan.
Yes,
is Crocodile Dundee. So like we said, like I think he was a pretty big in Australia and then decided to like make this movie, and then became like a huge hit, and everyone knew him as Crocodile Dundee after that. I believe that there is a Crocodile Dundee 2, which came out 2 years later. So one of those like very like, oh my god, this movie did so well, let's make a sequel immediately. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember the plot to that one, but it's like her ex-husband is like a journalist in South America and gets involved with like cocaine dealers and like sends them drugs or something.
I thought there was more cocaine in this one. Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
No, it's some like drug plot with that one.
Interesting.
And I don't remember like what their relationship status is at that point because they do quote unquote make it into at least to the next sequel, so that's good. And then Linda Kozlowski is the romantic lead. didn't really do, like, I'm not really, like, sure of any other ones she did.
Where did you go, Linda Kozlowski?
But, so...
Also Carol's maiden name.
Right. So felt such a connection to her because, so Carol's name, our mom, Carol's name, last maiden name is Kozlowski, as Sweetie just sang, warbled. And that's like a pretty like rare name. It's Polish. You don't see it a lot. And so when I would watch this as a kid, I'd be like, oh my God, not thinking like I was that dumb that like they were related at all, but just how cool that was. And she sort of looks like Carol. So I was like, yep, basically.
Yeah. I remember like, freaking
We
out.
might be related.
Yeah. That's
It was just cool to see someone's last name. I mean, almost like our last name,
Right.
Dumas, is like,
Which
no
they're-
one has that
yeah.
really either. So it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, but anyway, like, let's just get into the fish out of water plot.
Okay.
So I can say that term a couple more times. Fish out of water.
Wait.
It's time for the Sweetie synopsis. Yeah, sweeties. Gonna go walk about.
Should do a song with that as like the thing.
Gonna go walk about. Wait, maybe the only way I can get into like an Australian accent is like some of the songs. So like, what's the like
What
the Australian
songs?
song that's like?
Come from a land down under.
Oh no, that is a great song. I fucking love that song. But no, what is that? It's like
From this movie?
oh the Matilda one.
Shayla in the bush.
Oh, or how about this one from elementary school? Kookaburra sits on the old gum tree.
Yeah, you're
Mary,
obsessed with
Mary,
that.
king of the
Well,
bushes, he.
Okay, your accent hasn't come out yet, so I don't know if that works.
Oh, the other one was Waltzing Matilda, Waltzing Matilda. You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me.
Save it for the game.
I don't have any Australian
It's
accent.
gonna be fun. It's just like the Arnold Schwarzenegger game you played in Kindergarten Cop. Okay. Anyways, back to the synopsis. Michael Mick J. Crocodile Dundee is a crocodile Dundeer. Just kidding. He is a man in Australia who lives in the bush and, wrestles crocodiles and is just like a guy. that is,
He's in the tour company. Isn't he part of the tour company?
Yeah. He's got a tour company.
Never Tours or something?
No, isn't it related to the hotel name? No.
No, I think
don't
it's
know.
called Never Tours or something like that.
Peter Pan?
Yeah, it's like along that rift, I thought.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways, so journalist Sue learns about him and decides she wants to do a story all about him. So she goes to Australia and goes on to take his tour and to find out more about him and do a story, blah, blah, blah. So she goes, and he's kind of foxy. She's kind of immediately turned on, I would say. I
Yeah.
would say probably gets a girl boner, like, right away.
Well, once you figure out who her boyfriend is, you can imagine why, like, you would fucking turn to anybody else, like literally a rock, because her boyfriend's so bad. But yeah, they have like basically a 3-day hike in the woods alone to start stirring up some Aussie
Which
romance.
is an interesting tour. If I was like, yes, I want, like, is that the tour? The tour is
Yeah.
you go
I think
out
yep.
with him and sleep on the ground?
Yeah. You're roughing it.
Well, I just think of it like you're in a car looking at things, and then, like, I don't know. It just
Rude awakening. We're sleeping on the ground where there's snakes everywhere.
stressful.
Yeah,
So,
but it's
yeah.
it's very cool to see like what they encounter, right? And all the wildlife and like a couple like events happen, right?
Sure. So, well, I mean, the main one is that she is like, I can do this by myself, because he makes a couple jabs at, women, which is like 80s, 90s, and early 2000s,
Well, also
and now.
because he's
But-
just so sheltered,
right, and he's sheltered. So she's like, I can do it on my own. So she goes off on her
What
own.
was that about though? I forget. Oh, you can't last out here by yourself or something.
Yeah. So she wanted to like prove him wrong. So she goes out by herself, but he follows her closely. And then she, even though knows she's seen big crocodiles recently, like this wasn't like she read about it in on the news and then went out there. Like she legit was in a boat and saw them. And she's like by the water, taking her time, like relaxing in the sun. I'm thirsty. Let me fill up my water bottle in my slutty bathing suit. And then she like goes to the water's edge and is like filling it up. And this giant crocodile comes out and tries to eat her. And she almost dies. And then Crocodile Dundee saves her. And then they kind of have like a bonding moment, like
Yeah.
Sweetie said. reverse Florence Nightingale / hero comp. I think that's just the hero complex.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Because the thing about Sue is that she's like fucking awesome. She's a woman. She's independent. She's doing her own shit. She's like, fuck you, I don't need you. But she's still deep down a city girl in the country, in the backwoods of Australia, which, like, unless you live in Australia, you don't know what the fuck's going on. So you have, like, Sue, like, stripping down to her, like, fucking thong bathing suit. Like, who brings a thong bathing suit to Australia?
No.
There's bugs everywhere. This is not like fucking sands of the Bahamas here.
I know. It's
Sue.
not, yeah. Like,
There's
I
no
would never,
beaches.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that ever.
Like, get a decent bikini or
Sue.
bathing suit or anything. So she, as much as cool as she is, like, she doesn't know what the hell's going on. So yeah, he saves her life, which, yes, no one has ever saved my life, but if it happened, like, even if they were butt ugly, I would probably still be like, I really like that person.
yeah. Would you have sex? Would you want to have sex with them immediately?
Maybe something just like happens to you chemically when someone saves your life like that. Maybe it's just like something that happens.
We should do an experiment and we'll set it up. And
I'll walk in the middle of the street.
And hopefully someone saves you and it's not like bystander effect.
Like,
but
it's probably someone with like a horrible snaggletooth and like bad acne.
Awful. But it'll be a good test because then
it'd
it'd be like if you do want to have sex with them and then it really works. So, whatever. Right. But yeah. So
But it's not only that. So like we're giving that moment too much credit because really the thing is that she sees Mick in like his natural environment and starts to like get a little bit more into like what makes him tick and what makes him so interesting is that she's a woman from New York where everything is hustle bustle, career driven, this and that. Mm-hmm. Here's the qualities that I wrote down that Mick has.
Okay.
And you can add to these.
All right.
Doesn't keep track of time. Doesn't know how old he is, what day of the week it is, what time it is. I mean, he tells time by the sun, but let's, give or take a couple of hours there. Who knows? Has no opinions on world affairs.
None. Doesn't care.
So she asks him, what do you feel about the nuclear arms race? And he's like, I could give two shits. It doesn't concern me. And she's like, what do you mean it doesn't concern you? She found that so fascinating. It's like a woman of the world. Mm-hmm. Rolls his own cigarettes.
Okay.
Does what he wants.
Sure.
And likes to sleep on the ground.
Okay. Good qualities.
Yeah.
I would add, doesn't care or need to wear sunscreen because he's a piece of leather.
He's not getting burned anymore.
Nope. Doesn't need. Nope. Don't need to worry about
he's
that.
He's burning on the inside out.
Yep. Is not racist. Is sexist.
Loves all tribes. Is sexist though.
So
is
there's
sexist.
a little bit of a trade-off there. Yeah. I mean, I personally would like to know how old he is. Yeah. I find that crucial.
Well, the fact that he's like a piece of leather is also like kind of, you just don't know. I mean, he looks older than I think he is because he's so sunburned.
He doesn't even look that old.
How old do you think he is?
40.
Yeah. Let's say 40. But then, I mean, how old is Sue? Because there's this weird part where she's like, oh, I've been married before. But it feels like there's this 80s trope where everyone had these like weird starter marriages when they were like 20.
Yeah.
And then you're like single again at 26.
Well,
and it's
like now too. She's probably 30s.
You think? No, I think
mid to late 30s.
Yeah. Hard to tell. Who knows?
But her dad looks like a spring chicken. That's all I know. I'm like, what?
Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Good qualities. So, yeah. So she does value that. So they share a little smoocheroochie, and she's like, Mick, how about you come back to New York City with me? I think it'd be fun or something. Great for the story. / I want to bone you.
I want to bone you.
And he's like, okay, sure. So he gets on a plane for the first time in his life and goes to New York City. He's never been anywhere, so this is amazing. Fish out of water scenario. So you got your classic, what's an escalator? I don't know. What's a bidet? I don't know. Side note, no one else knows what that is either. So it's okay, Mick. Don't worry about it. And he's just kind of, like I said, there's not a ton of conflict here. We meet Sue's boyfriend, who's a super dick. A couple red flags here. Number one, as we pointed out, pinky ring.
Right.
Huge red flag.
Well, okay. So first of all, he is like the lead editor of the newspaper. So Sue is a journalist. Her dad owns the paper.
And he looks like a penis.
He looks like a penis / what did I say? Like a... something skeleton. I forget. All I have in my notes is Richard equals dick, which is funny because Richard does equal dick. That's weird.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. So go on.
Not
Pinky ring.
Pinky ring. I only have 2. Wears a powder blue suit. Or 3 is an asshole. Like,
yeah, and he's a cultural
he's
like
worst.
racist. He's
yeah,
awful.
culture. Yeah, he's making fun of Mick. He's like, sorry, they don't have any kangaroo. You know what? Sweetie made this comparison during the movie, and I would say it's 100% accurate that Coming to America is basically this movie.
Yes.
Or this movie is basically Coming to America, because Coming to America was made first, right? 1987 or 86. Oh shit!
Yeah,
you're right. Oh shit! All right. So it's that whole thing of like, oh, somebody is from this whole other place I don't know, and they don't have these same cultural things that I have. So I'm going to make fun of their lifestyle and be like, sorry, there's no kangaroo meat here. We'll try to get you something, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just like so rude.
It's I don't know. I've like never, and I feel like it's always right. It's always the douchey boyfriend who is like scared of that guy taking his woman away, so he like hits him with all these things, but they're dumb and nobody cares. And also that's what makes that person awesome, is because they have all these other like cultural things that we don't have here in the US. So it's like, yeah, buddy, sick burn, like you eat possum, wow. Like, ooh, he's gonna be like real upset about that.
Right. So,
that guy is bullshit.
Yeah,
but
sucks.
it's like an amazing scene because Mick just like puts him in his place.
Like, enough of this, and punches him, and he knocks out, and it's pretty great.
But without anybody seeing it.
Yeah. So then, like I said, there's not really a ton of conflicts. He's kind of just going through the motions, living out New York City life. He's super friendly to everyone, makes friends with all these like the limo driver, the bellhop, the taxi driver. Gets into shenanigans that include but are not limited to befriending prostitutes and getting confused about their job title. Like we said, there's a transgender encounter, which is awful. We'll talk about it. What else? Meets
going up to hip happening 80s parties and
80s
lofts.
parties, getting confused about cocaine because he doesn't know what that is. And just like, you know, your typical run-of-the-mill sitches here.
Typical fish
gets,
out of water.
Mugged a couple times, but fights back and stuff like that.
And I also think it's like, in this movie, as much as you're like kind of stereotyping, maybe parts of it they stereotyped Australia even, right? So when we were watching this, I'm like, do like Australian people think this movie's cool or not?
Well,
like,
in the boonies of Australia, probably.
True. Okay. But then they really stereotype New York as well, right? Because they're like, okay, like, what would this guy's experience be in New York? Okay, he's definitely going to run into prostitutes and a pimp. Like, he's definitely going to see someone doing cocaine. He's definitely going to run into a transgender person.
Yeah,
like,
but this was New York in the 80s, which I feel like
is
all of that
what
stuff
it
happened.
was? Okay.
Based on all the movies that I've seen, yes.
Those are movies.
Big, yes.
But those are movies.
Although I didn't see any prostitutes in Working Girl, which is funny because remember I thought it was about prostitutes.
Yes.
Huh. Interesting. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. So all this culminates in this big dinner at Sue's father's house, who's the owner of the newspaper. So he like lives in a mansion, whatever. And just like in Coming America, her boyfriend gets up and is like, guess what, everybody? We're getting married. But, you know, forgets to ask the woman if she would like to do that.
You know, they haven't seen each other in 6 weeks.
Instead,
she's been in Australia, and he's like, oops, guess. And like before they had one small conversation where he was like, I think I need to put down roots. But then they got like interrupted.
Yeah. But was he gonna propose to her on the desk, or I thought he was gonna be like, I slept with someone else and decided that we're not meant to be together.
I don't know. That whole scene is like so uncomfortable because like obviously you know that she's been getting closer and closer to Mick. They've kissed a couple times. Who knows if they've done anything else? I mean,
it's true.
Could have gone back to the hotel room. You just don't know. You
could have been in the sleeping bag.
And then she's accepting the proposal, which, like, I guess, like, what else would you do in that situation so you don't embarrass, like, Richard completely, even though he's a dick and should be embarrassed?
Yeah.
Like, you just say, okay, and, like, whatever. And then you can obviously just be like, oh, whatever. Tell people later, oh, didn't work out. But I just was like, ugh. So then obviously Mick feels like shithole because he just made out with this girl. He has this great connection. He had called Wally his friend back at home, and was like, I'm going to stay here a couple more months, basically because I'm, you know, in love with this woman. And he's obviously fucking pissed. So then he drinks a bunch with his limo buddy. Carl. Carl Winslow.
Real name, something else.
Yep. And then does he tell the limo? Oh yeah, he's just like really upset. So he like tells the limo driver to like drop him off like near some bar or something, right? And then that's when he meets like this pimp again, who the pimp like he had hit before and whatever. So not super important to the plot.
I was like, why do we need to know?
We'll go that in favorite scenes because it's good. So then he goes back to the hotel and kind of decides like, well, the woman I like is getting married, so like I'm basically out of here. Can I explain this final scene in detail because it's my favorite? Be forewarned, I cried.
Surprise, surprise.
I was like sobbing at this scene. And
Waterworks.
I've just come to the conclusion that I don't feel like I'm a very like romantic person, and I'm trying to like up that in myself and like watch more romantic movies and be like a little bit more in tune to that part of myself. But then I watch a movie like this and I'm like sobbing hysterically and I'm like, maybe I am a true romantic at heart. Okay, so great scene, you guys. So Mick is like, fuck, I'm leaving. So he like goes to like the little pear-shaped bellboy and is like, hey, like how do I get out of here? I'm gonna go on a walkabout of America. And the pear-shaped bellboy is like, go take the subway, it goes to Grand Central, like that'll take you where you want to go. He's like, awesome. So he starts walking and there's this great like walking music. It's like do 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 do. So then Sue pulls up, and at this point, like Sue completely regrets like whatever happened the night before, realizes she loves Mick, and is gonna go talk to him about it at the hotel. But he fucking left. The bellboy, pear-shaped bellboy, is like, yo, he went on walkabout, and he's like, you just left. He's going to Grand Central. Like maybe you can catch him. But you guys, this is New York City. People get like you lose someone in a crowd, that's it. Like they'll jump on someone jumps on a subway, they're gone out of your life forever. Like she needs to catch him. So she starts walking to the subway, and that music goes again. Do, 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 do. She starts walking, and she's in this like great red dress with like this hair scarf, like this beautiful bag, and like these high-heeled shoes. So she's walking and walking, and she's like, fuck, I'm going to miss him. So it kind of splits between him walking to the subway and getting to this very packed subway and her like walking. Remember, do, 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 do. So she's like walking and walking. Finally, this is my favorite part, she's like, fuck these shoes. She throws off her shoes and is just running to the subway. Finally gets there and is packed full of people, but she sees his hat like way down at the end.
Thank God.
And she's like freaking out. She's like, I need to talk to that man. And there's a guy in front of her, this like construction guy. No, he's not construction. I don't know what he is. This is a black guy with this like red headband. And he's like, lady, what do you want? He sounds like Jamaican or something. He's like, lady, what do you want? She's like, I need to speak to that man. And the next guy in the row is this guy with a yellow construction hat, total New Yorker, like Long Island accent. And he's like, hey, fella, that lady wants to talk to you. And he's like, what does she want? And so it's like a game of telephone. So they each go down the line. What? And they all say it like a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. So the guy's like, what do you want? And then the other guy's like, what do you want? And she's like, I'm not, like, don't leave. Like, I'm not going to marry Richard. And then it goes to the guys being like, she's not going to marry Richard. Oh, no, they say it like she is. I'm not going to marry Richard. And he's like, why not? So then they go, why not? The black guy's like, why not? And she's like kind of thinking about it for a while and it's like, you know, getting like, oh man, like, and she's like, no, I do love him. So she's like, because I love you. And then so they go basically like through telephone, like, I love you. Like, I love you. I love ya, says like the New York like construction guy. So Mick's like, okay, he's like, I'm coming through. And they're all packed in there. And the guy's like, we're packed in here like, what does he say? He's
sardines.
Like, yeah, we're packed in here like, or no, we're like packed in here like sheep or something like that. And he's like, okay, he's like, I'm going up. So he climbs up on all the people and basically like crowd surfs, but like standing up.
On
so
people's
they like
heads?
On people's heads. And he just like steps on them and everyone's like, woo! Woo! And that music is like do 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 on each like step he takes over the people. It's so good. So then they meet her in the middle and they like hug and embrace and everyone's just like clapping and freaking out. And then it's like freeze frame on them, just like Karate Kid. Oh my God. Waterworks. I was sobbing. It's so good.
I mean, who needs to watch the movie? That was a great rendition by Sweetie. Thank you.
It's one of my favorite
Thank
scenes.
you,
And I
thank
know I
you.
say this about a lot of movies, but like that scene is one of my favorite scenes of any movie at all times. It's
was good.
so awesome.
It's
It's
really
like
great.
it just is amazing.
It was good. I enjoyed it as well, and I remembered that too when it was starting happening. I was like, "Oh yeah, this scene." Although unrealistic, because if somebody was walking on people's heads in New York City, I feel like there'd be a lot of things that they would say about that, but they wouldn't be like, "Yeah, you get your lady." They'd be like, "Fuck you, buddy."
Yeah, maybe but it was just mostly like happiness. I mean,
Yeah.
the people were like adorable.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that's the thing. Like people have like big cities, and I think Boston gets this more than New York. That like, you know, New York is like a really tough place, but it's not that people aren't friendly. That's the thing. Like they're not friendly to the Mick Dundee like level that they're you're saying hi to everybody as you go, because as that scene proves, there's just way too many people to say hi to. It's not like you're in Walkabout Creek and there's only 5 people around, so of course you're going to say hi to everyone you meet, because you only meet a person every couple hours. New York, you just can't do that here. There's too many people. But like in general, New York is pretty friendly because there's just so many different people there and so many cultures. Boston, debatable. You guys come here and let us know if we're friendly, because I think we are. But you know, people say we're not friendly here. I'm like, fuck you.
I don't want to talk to anyone. I'm sorry.
Exactly. We're just too busy doing our own fucking thing, and like we're not. It's not. We just don't go out of the way to be fake friendly, I guess. That's how I would
sort
say.
of nice to children. So I think that's a good trade-off. This little girl was like, I was walking home one night after we went to the movies, and it got out and it was dark out when I was walking home, and I missed the bus. So I'm walking, and you know, when it's dark out, you kind of like put up your hood and you get a little like scared of things, and you're like, I'm not gonna talk to anyone, I'm gonna just keep my head down. But then like this family walked by, and this little girl was like, hello, and I was like, hi. So I felt good about that, and I think that I won. So I think I am friendly because I'm nice to kids.
My favorite thing is when you take public transportation here, and you can always tell who the tourists are here, because they'll like chat you up on the train.
Or they're weird.
And you're like, oh,
crazy.
okay. Like nobody talks to each other on the train. Like, and you also like, people always bring shit to do. So there's always either a weird tourist or some rando who did not bring anything to do on the train, and they feel like that's appropriate to like interrupt you even though you're doing something.
I'd like to point out that this has only happened to Sweetie because weird
The
people,
crossword puzzle guy? That was the worst.
Weird people just zero in on you because you have like
I have a
those
friendly
that
face.
nice face, and they're like, "Oh, she'll be nice to me," and you,
Which I am, and I would never like
know.
shut somebody down.
It's your downfall.
but
It's your Achilles
It's like my
heel.
dream come true to just go to say to somebody who does that to me, being like, I'm sorry, like I don't want to talk to you right now. Have a nice day. But I can't do it.
That'd be fun. You should do that.
Oh, like
I
a
like
robot.
it.
Like, I'm sorry, I am not able to converse with you today. Anyway, woo! Good movie, guys. I almost cried again rehashing that ending. It's so good. But yeah, but like, would I have sex with Mick Dundee? Probably.
I wrote that down.
Not
Really? Oh, I thought I said in a heartbeat.
really.
Probably. Yeah.
Whoa!
In his element. Yeah.
If he saved me from,
I'll tell you
a
which-
crocodile killing. Okay.
I'll tell you what scene it was. It was when he's shaving and decides to take off the last few flecks with the giant knife. I don't know. Something about it just like spoke to me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not. It's not one of those things where I'm like, ew, God, no. But but just personally for me, I'm like, he's like a little too skinny for me. I don't know. When he was like spear fishing and he was just like, oh my God, you could like see through him almost. I'm like, dude,
yams or whatever.
tell me more yams and whatever that iguana thing was they ate.
I think it was just an iguana.
No, he called it something else. He's like a
Iguana.
no. They called it something. I said it was an iguana, and then he called it something
iguana.
else. I thought
He called it iguana, not an iguana.
Iguana.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that the same thing?
What else would it be?
I don't know, dude. Anyway, what is up? Okay, so what do we want to talk about?
Well,
Have we covered it all?
I would like to say that I was a little stressed out during the Australian portion of this film.
were.
I got very nervous and decided to ask Sweetie if there was a spider in this movie, which, true to Sweetie's form, even though she just saw this pretty recently, was like, yes, wait, no, maybe, and then made up a scene that she she claimed the spider happened at. So I was
so
terrified.
confident in that too.
I was terrified the whole time and was just like not looking up at the screen anytime the scene changed, because the thing with spiders is that like I can deal with them if it's like a movie like Arachnophobia like is all about spiders and you see the spider or whatever and it's not a surprise when it's just like walking around. If it's a movie where you're like, I am safe from spiders here, and all of a sudden the camera cuts to a giant spider walking on the ground, that is not okay. I need to be in a safe space where I know that's not going to happen. It's like sharks coming out in movie montages. I can't watch movie montages because there's always a shark.
I was like, just look at me. Just look at me. Just look at me.
So then I was stressed out. And then Sweetie's like, what about the crocodile scene? And I was like, what crocodile scene? And she goes, oh, that's the part that scared the shit out of me. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, you're right. This is going to be a terrifying water sequence, which I think I've talked about this before, but anytime there's a sequence where an animal is in the water, it could be a whale, it could be a crocodile, it's definitely a shark. Anytime an animal is coming out of the water, it could be a person even, anything like that, I will freak the fuck out.
That thing came out of nowhere.
Right. And that is so stressful to me. So anytime I'm watching a movie where there's somebody is just staring at the surface of a water, I know. I just had that instinct in me that something's going to jump out.
I'll give it to you because it is really scary.
I seized up and I was just like, I'm not going to watch. So I just looked away and I got through it. Thank God, because that seemed really scary from the corner of my eye, like in my peripheral vision. It seemed really scary.
Calm water. And she's like with her little canteen, and all of a sudden that thing just, that thing was
really
huge.
big. I don't think there's crocodiles like that big. Except in the movie Lake Placid, which is about an alligator, so it's a little different. But
it was like,
I think that was fake. It was for sure fake.
The canteen and it had like a leather strap, so it was like not only the terrifying notion of like you're staring a crocodile in the face, but it was basically choking her because it's like pulling her neck with the strap. Whew. But then like Mick runs out of that jungle and stabs him in the head.
Yeah, it's badass.
Yeah, it was. I mean, okay, I would totally fall in love with someone who was like stabbed an alligator in the head, or crocodile in the head for me. Yeah. So,
but it was stressful, and luckily, just so everybody knows, there's no spider in this.
Yeah, there wasn't a spider. I did make up a
I
whole
was convinced
scene
because,
but like, what scene is that? What movie is that?
I think you're thinking of the Parent Trap remake,
maybe
with the lizard on the canteen, or was that in the original one too? I don't know. But they always say that Australia is like the most dangerous country in the world, right? Because there's like so many animals that can kill you in that country, and it's just very dangerous. So,
and they show a good couple here. The Australian wildlife they show is pretty impressive.
So they get the
cool.
crocodile, which could definitely kill you. There's a snake. I don't know what kind. Mick just like kills it. No big deal.
MBD breaks neck.
What else could kill you?
Well, not kill you, but we're just talking about other animals that they show. So what you said was a buffalo.
A buffalo.
Yep, in the middle of the road. There's a kind of cool kind of sad kangaroo scene, which made me Google one of two things from this movie. Can you shoot kangaroos in Australia? So there's like someone calls Mick a poacher in the bar, and he like gets into a fight with somebody about it, I think. But anyway, so they're in the outback, and these, what does he call them? Like city hillbillies or something like that. So essentially these people who live in like the big cities. So, there would be like Sydney, right? Is near there. And these guys come and do like shooting parties in like the outback and are shooting all these kangaroos. So you see all these kangaroos like running all around innocently, and they're shooting them for fun. They're not like, stuffing them or doing anything.
Sorry, quick comment. I believe they're hopping around.
Yeah. But they look so sweet. Anyway, so like Sue is like, oh my God, you didn't do anything? And he's like, what? It's not illegal to shoot a kangaroo. Oh, but is it, Mick? So I did do the research, and it is illegal to keep one as a pet, or I don't know, they had some other verbs there, unless you have a permit. So you're not allowed to do it unless you have a permit, and the permit specifies like where you can shoot them and how many and whatever. But like, because no one was shooting them, I guess there was kind of like deer, this like overrun of kangaroos, and then they had people go around and like what culling them. So they use that term a lot with deer too. Cull the herd. So, and I guess like they just got slaughtered. Like, but I don't know like how you balance that. Yeah. If you're just like, okay, like we're overrun, the population of kangaroos is overrun, everyone like shoot all the kangaroos. Aren't you afraid that like then they're going to be overhunted and then you're not gonna have any?
I'm sure it has to do with like permits and like they give out a certain amount of permits with the idea that, okay, you say X
Only
amount
so
of
many
permits
people.
will kill this many kangaroo, and then you account for any like dips and.
But it's like, it's weird to think that like, okay, if that's their like deer, if kangaroos are like the deer of Australia, but for like kids growing up who have never seen a kangaroo, or that's like something we never see, they're like these sweet little like mythical, like a koala or like animals like that are just like, oh, you like see them in zoos or something like that. And that to think that that's there as like populous as a deer in some place is like kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, totally.
Which is like basically all of the animals in Australia, if you like think about it.
Yeah, I mean, or like going to Africa and being like, wow, an elephant, like zebras. I'll never be able to see those ever.
Just hanging
again
out
in my life.
like they live there.
Well, not yeah, right. It's crazy. Real quick, back to this unexpected spider thing. I just want to point out that the scene that I was thinking of during this, and the one that is like the number one offender in all of movies history, maybe, is a Very Brady sequel.
Wow.
Right?
Reaching
you
back.
just do not expect this. They're in Hawaii and they're like in a Jeep and you're like, this is funny. And then all of a sudden this giant, the T word is crawling on the ground and it's out of nowhere. And it's really it's fucked up. It's fucked up, Brady Bunch. So that's all I have to say about that. But anyways, yeah, Australia part, love that. But I do think the movie shines in the New York scenes.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because we are from America, where we are familiar with this, but it's just a funnier scenario. So for favorite parts in New York, obviously everybody talks about the "that's not a knife" scene where he gets held up by some hooligans
who dress like in a Thriller
in
jacket.
a Thriller jacket with the headbands. Headbands were big, big back then. And this guy has like a switchblade, and he's like, "Give me your money." And Mick's like, "What?" And he's not scared of him, and Sue's like, "Just they're holding us up," and she like totally forgot everything that happened in the outback. Like, hello,
it's
he's saved
Crocodile
her from
Dundee.
a crocodile, and he's like, and she's like, "Mick, he has a knife," and he goes, "That's not a knife. That's a knife," and he pulls out his like giant Bowie knife.
Good accent.
Thank you. I can only do it when there's like lines involved. I can't be like free ball.
Free balling.
Because we'll play a game in a little bit where like we're not going to use movie lines. We're just going to say
wine for
things. It's going to be hilarious. So anyways, so everyone loves that scene. Sweetie mentioned this scene in another one of our podcasts, the cocaine
Okay.
scene.
I want to talk about that. Okay. This is one of my favorite scenes too. I don't know why. It must have been a movie we talked about cocaine. Well, which
All
one
of
was
them.
it? All of them. 80s. Right? So like
Working Girl? No. What had cocaine in it recently? And we were like, cocaine is weird.
Yeah,
And we're like,
like,
people still do it.
Yeah, because as we've talked about cocaine, so obviously like so prevalent in the 80s, but growing up as a kid of DARE, drug abuse resistance education, you were taught that like cocaine was like the worst drug ever. And then like now as an adult, now I've known like several people who've done coke. I've seen people do coke, and I'm like, wow, like I'm still in the DARE mindset where I'm like, oh my God, they're doing coke. But apparently like it's not a big deal. So apparently in the 80s, not a big deal at all, because it's like in all these parties and stuff. So they go to this like crazy house party, which again, what movie were we watching where like these people, rich people in New York, had these like house parties in the 80s where people would like dress to the nines. So you dress in this like crazy like fancy outfits. There'd be like someone in a like serving at a bar.
What the hell was it?
The people like just dancing in this apartment, and it was just like I'm like, these were parties in the 80s, house parties.
We
in
really
the 80s.
missed out. We missed out.
I know. I would love that. So then, so he was in the kitchen. This guy's snorting cocaine like off of a mirror, and he's like, "Oh man, like what's wrong with you? Like you're not feeling great?" And he's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "You all stuffed up?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, kind of thinks this guy's joking with him. And he's like, he's like, "That's not how you do it. Like, I'll show you how we do it back at home." So he goes, and there very conveniently happens to be a kettle that had just been boiled, like still steaming. Takes it, pours boiling water into a bowl, dumps all of the cocaine the guy has. So not only all the cocaine the guy was sniffing on the mirror, but all the cocaine in the vial that was next to him. So, as Sue says later, probably a couple $100 worth of cocaine, poured into water, dissolves in a bowl, and he has the guy stick his face over it, put a cloth over his head, and just inhale it, thinking that it's like a menthol kind of thing, and he needs to like clear his sinuses. Oh my God, hilarious. So then Sue tells him later. He's like, "Oh, it was probably like about couple $100 worth of cocaine that you basically trashed for that guy." And he goes, "What's cocaine?" And she's like, "Oh, well, it's a drug that people sniff." She's like totally cash about it. Like, "Okay, Sue, how many lines have you done?" So she's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Why would people do that?" And she's like, to get a buzz." Like, okay, you didn't go to Dare.
Was it Cocktail? Maybe it was Cocktail we talked about it. Do they
were
do
there
coke in
coke
that? Does somebody do coke? Someone must do coke in Cocktail. Come on, it's Cocktail.
No, but it was
Yuppies.
like something where it was like an 80s house party like that. And we were like, whoa. I don't know. We'll have to look.
Man, I don't know. But yeah, it's a really good scene. Hilarious. Do you think the guy like still got high though? Was he like vaping
I was gonna
coke?
say, like, what if that still works? Because it's like where it must go in the steam. It must. The
why I was
water has cocaine in it and then evaporates.
Is he vaping cocaine?
I mean, maybe that's where vaping began.
From Crocodile Dundee? I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty funny. And the guy in that is a dad. It plays this random like 2-episode role in Full House where he's like a dad of Aaron, who's in Kindergarten Cop, that little kid, that little boy. Oh my God, funny. Yeah, he's weird. He's like the perfect character actor who would play either a drug addict or a hippy dippy dad because he has like
a weird flat face.
Yeah, he's flat face and his eyes are like saggy,
Yes,
like
the
that
sag eye.
like that dog. What's that cartoon dog that's like
The dog, or also the guy who played the caterpillar in the Alice in Wonderland show that was on
Are we
Disney,
sure it's
which
not
we should
that guy?
totally do.
I know you've talked about that before.
We should totally do that. show.
Yeah, good one. Good
Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Is that what it was called?
one. I think so.
Where the rabbits on
Yeah,
skates.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh, I'm really I'm like, I feel
The weird like gay Mad Hatter.
Ugh, I feel I'm a little upset about it. Thinking about it, there's just
the bunny with the
something-
mop top.
There's just something about that and Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme that just like makes me really nauseous, but like in a weird
I
way
gotta
that I
find
want to
that.
watch it. I don't know. I can't describe
Yeah.
it. But yeah, those scenes are great. And then obviously I talked about this scene. This is being the main one that I remembered. So the limo driver drops him off like at a bar. Mick sees a couple prostitutes, thinks they're his old prostitute buddies from earlier in the film.
old
and is like,
prostitute buddies.
"Hey, Paulette," or like whatever her name is. It's not. It's somebody else.
Simone and Carla.
Yeah, but it's the same pimp, which is weird because those other prostitutes were way classier. And how can that pimp be in control of those?
I mean,
prostitutes
is pimp
too?
by like geography? So it's like, do you own like a block?
No, you own the women. I'm pretty
It's not
sure.
like by like an area. So you're like, okay, like I'm like
what?
14th Street to 25th or something.
I don't recall a lot from my pimp classes in school in the politics of prostitution.
You've
but
seen Pretty Woman. Come on.
Yeah, but like some people didn't have pimp. Like, didn't she not have a pimp in that? Her friend
No.
did.
No.
Maybe you're thinking of Milk Money.
No, she had a pimp too. I think she had a pimp.
I don't know if she had a pimp. Because like, why would he let her go off with what's his face for like 2 weeks? She'd be dead. She'd be dead.
Maybe she didn't have a pimp. I don't know. I haven't seen Pretty Woman that much. It's not my
We
favorite
need to
movie.
watch it.
We'll
oh,
do it.
I was just thinking about it today for some
Not
reason.
my romantic comedy. That
Oh,
movie's
you know
a
what I
lot
was
of
thinking
problems.
about? Okay, so sorry, random tangent. So we have an AMC movie theater in our town, whatever, and they have this mural on the wall with all of these. And I'm using air quotes right now, iconic movie moments, which some, yes, are. Maybe there's like a Marilyn Monroe or like a Kate Winslet in Titanic or something. Sure, yeah, that's iconic. But then you also have Salma Hayek in Wild West, which is the most fucking random thing. Or it's somebody who is maybe an iconic movie star, but not in whatever role they choose to highlight. So it's a very confusing mural for me. But so they have this shot of Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, but she's wearing the brown polka dot dress, which, although I like, is not my favorite.
The iconic
outfit.
one is the red one from the opera.
Yes, exactly. But and the thing that upsets me about the brown polka dot dress is that I want it to be black polka dot.
Wait, the brown polka dot dress that she's wearing to the horse race with the hat.
Yes, which is a sweet outfit, but it still would be much better if it was black. I'm just saying, like, no one looks good in brown. I'm sorry. It's just
Not even Julia Roberts.
I'll say I had a brown phase in high school where I loved brown.
I did
and I thought it looked so great.
Me too.
And now I'm like, no, brown is not a good
Brown is not
anyone's
good.
color. It's not anyone's color. Anyways, side Side tangent. I do want to watch Pretty Woman though, and I think it would be fun because we would probably say things about it that are hilarious.
I like that movie more than I say. Even though it like scarred me for life for George Costanza.
Who wants to place bets that Sweetie's going to cry at the end? So
I know I don't. I have. Well, first of all, I would never cry because I think Richard Gere is like the most like dud romantic lead I could ever play.
The end is pretty nice. I like it. He comes out of the limo with the flowers, and it's like. Okay, everybody take note of this moment where Sweetie is making sarcastic
It's
faces.
not my movie. I'm very entertained by that movie. I do not find it romantic in the least.
Sure. All right. We'll see.
It's this dumb plot.
I'm just saying,
I'm sorry.
with your hormones these days,
He was paying
who
her.
knows? Who knows how
She was
you'll
a
react?
prostitute. He was paying her. It's not real.
Don't forget, you didn't want to watch Babe, the Gallant Pig either, and then...
I'm not saying I don't enjoy Pretty Woman. I'm just saying I would never cry at it. This is not the same.
All right. Well, everybody
Clearly,
take note.
I would much rather, if you're going to date me, I would much rather have you be in a subway and I'm like yelling at you, being like, I love you, and like you climb over to me than some rich dude pulling up in a limo and being like,
but I'm just saying that you cry at like most things these days, and it could just be like your hormones now that you're like in your 30s.
Watch
So it's just a thought. But anyways, so he runs into these prostitutes, whoops, sees somebody else, gets mugged or attempted, I guess beat up more, not mugged, but so the pimp is like, you again, and then they get in a tussle.
well, the pimp has like some backup.
Right. The pimp has other pimps or like pimp adjacent like friends. They're like pimp sidekicks.
Hi, I'm pimp adjacent.
I don't know if they have been promoted to have their own flock of prostitutes yet or not. I don't know how that works. Again, I forgot that in my class I took. But so he gets beat up, and Mick's been drinking, and he left his knife in the limo, so he doesn't have that. So he's out of sorts, and he gets kicked around a bit. But the limo driver saves the fucking day.
He didn't leave him.
You just hear like a car, and he like crashes into one of the guys and breaks the windshield, which is unfortunate. But and then the limo driver gets out, and one of the guys are running away, and he's like, "Oh, I got an idea!" And he rips off the limo's antenna, which back in the day was like a fin, basically, like on the back of a car. Really impractical.
I do appreciate those old limos.
Yes,
it really like took me back.
And when you see those and you see this antenna, you're always like Crocodile Dundee.
Yes.
So he rips it off and then uses it like a boomerang and is a master at it. I don't know what's going on there. And he hits the guy with it, and he just like passes out or is dead. We don't know, but it's a really good scene. And
But like, why didn't he want that guy to get away?
that's what I said. It's not like he stole something
No.
or we would like gain anything from it.
Right, or he was gonna go tell somebody and
Right.
like I don't know, get them in
It's
trouble.
very weird,
It was,
but it's just a good scene.
It was really cool. It was like a good throwback because in the beginning, so Mick meets this black limo driver and assumes that because his reference of people of color are that they're Aborigine, right? Mm-hmm. And he calls them tribal. So there's this great scene when they are in Australia where they meet an Aborigine in the woods. And it's actually his friend named Nev. And Nev is like Neve Campbell. This great character where like he actually lives in the big city, but his dad is a tribal elder. So he has to come and do the Aborigine thing. Like, so he has like Levi's on, but is all like painted in like Aboriginal, like that kind of like white dotted makeup that they have all around them. And he's like hilarious. So they go to this kind of like Aboriginal sort of like what we would call like a, what do you call that? Like a powwow, but is that still like a good thing to say? Probably not. What is that called?
I am cringing. I don't know. A ritual dance?
No, but like what is the Wampanoag? They don't call that a powwow? Remember they have that like every, like when we have 4th of July, they do that one. I think it depends on what Indian tribe or culture that you belong to, what Native American culture, but they call it different things. But anyway, so they have this like meeting, they do all these tribal dances and stuff like that. So you see like his relationship to, let's say, people of color in his country, right? So he comes to the United States and he comes to New York and he sees people of color there and he assumes that they're like from a tribe. So he asked him when he first meets him, like, what tribe are you from? And the guy's like, what? Like, what? I'm like from the Bronx. So then when this guy throws the boomerang, he goes like, I knew you were from a tribe. And then he says like something funny and I forget what it is.
What his like
sports team? Like,
I want to say that, but then in my head I was like, is that a gang he was in? Because it reminds me of the Warriors. Because he says like the Harlem something.
Yeah.
and like which. Yeah. So I don't know. Like maybe they threw boomerangs. I don't know. It's not a common talent, so I'm very impressed.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And that actor, like so as we talked about many times, Carl Winslow from Family Matters, awesome. But also because we only watched Die Hard a couple years ago, he's like the best character in Die Hard. He's that cop who Bruce Willis talks to the entire time,
but doesn't like through a phone, a walkie-talkie. Is it the walkie-talkie? The phone?
Yep.
Yeah. So they're like best buds, but they don't meet until the very end, and it's so good.
That scene's so good. Oh god, tear! Oh my god, I cried at that one. I was like, ah! But he's great. That guy is like awesome. I miss him. Such a great scene. So yeah, I think that's all of our favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Cocaine. That's not a knife. This is a knife. Limo driver scene, and then the final scene, 80s freeze frame. So yeah, great scenes. Again, most of them I think for us take place in New York. But the Australian scenes are pretty great too. Okay, so what about? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the bad transgender joke, which they kind of carry through twice. So Mick goes to a bar. And he has a cab driver who's this like little Italian guy, and he takes him to this bar, and he's like meeting all these guys, and meeting, I don't know where he is in New York City. He's talking to this woman, and they're kind of flirting and stuff like that. And I think she might even be like, "Want to come back to my place?" And he's like kind of excited about it. And she's pretty. She's like tall. She's like kind of like dressed in all black. She's kind of a lot of makeup on, but like everyone did in the 80s, so you're like whatever. And then his little cab driver friend is like Mick, come here. She's like, she's a he. That's a man. And then he's like, that's a fag. Ooh. So then Mick's like, what? Like never heard of. And at this in the 80s, I think they really called people like transvestites or like trannies. And obviously people thought they were like very strange and weird and obviously gay. Like they just assumed that was like a gay guy dressing up as a woman. So to make sure, he gropes her. So basically, like, goes to feel for what we thought would be a vagina if it was a woman, and he feels a penis, and she goes, ooh, and just like runs out of the bar, and then everyone like claps and whistles. Ooh. Very strange looking at that through the lens of like 2018.
Like, very offensive on so many levels, and just again reminds us that it really is not until very recently, and people obviously are still having problems adapting to this, that we haven't accepted transgender people, and it's very upsetting. And even like in Mrs. Doubtfire, there's that scene where like he's a she, she's a she, and it's like they need to call the cops because he's actually a man, and like it's just very they didn't understand, like no one understood. There wasn't any education. We didn't know what it meant. We didn't realize that it was like a mental kind of thing where like you are actually in the wrong body, whereas they were just like you're weird because you wanted to be somebody else. And it just wasn't understood. So it's just a real shame, and I know it's not like it was like a sign like of the times, right? And you always say that like, well, like I can't fault my ancestors for being racist because like everybody was back then. Like sure, but it just sucks. Like it's just
and for a movie like this, like you can not understand, but like they would put it in a movie like this, right? Because they're like, what is the craziest thing that New York has that like nowhere else has, right? Like transvestites, right? And how wild that was, that there would be these men who really look a lot like women who could pass as women, and you would just like not even know, especially if you weren't from here or like weren't watching for it. So it's just like the ultimate like, great, wow, New York is so crazy and liberating stuff. So that's why they do it. But then they circle back around to that joke because he meets a woman at a party, and she's like an older woman. She's clearly like someone like affluent woman, older woman, like in like New York society, and she has like this young boyfriend that was like really weird, and she's like a low voice, and she could have even been a male actor, like who even knows? Because the woman the person who they had playing the transgender person was a woman. And then, but I think this might have been a man in drag. So he's like convinced it's just another like transgendered person. So he gropes her to check it out. And he's like, oh, like, nice to meet you. And Sue has to cover up and be like, oh, he's Australian. And that's how they greet people. And then that woman's like, wow, like I wish I got greeted like that all the time, and like turns it into like how happy she was that this like stranger groped her. And I was like, what? Is that like a thing that if someone grabbed your vagina, you'd be like,
First of all, you can't even like grab someone's vagina, right? It'd be like,
I don't know what you're feeling.
Don't try to grab mine.
I felt your leg, but I was just
I know,
like,
but you're going for it. If you're thinking about it, you're like, what do you have to grab onto? You know what I mean? Like, your hand would need to be pretty big to like.
No, but
I think
it's
it's more
penis,
just that
you
there's
don't
like
even-
nothing there.
Yeah, but if you have a penis, you barely have to do anything to feel that there's something there.
Yeah.
It's not like
So your hand would stop. So like if you keep going,
Yeah.
then it's like I don't know. It's a little weird. But yeah, it's obviously super offensive scene. So
yeah, that shit was weird. But like, you know, as we were watching all these 80s movies that we've been watching, and as there will be to come, you know, between this and jokes about and gay people and stuff, like that's just something that, and even into the 90s, I mean, it was just like something to put in for laughs, and it's just so great that we're like over that hump.
even
Hopefully.
the 2000s, Bring It On has so many gay jokes and like it's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, but anyways, so are we ready to play the game, or do you have anything else you want to discuss?
Yeah, let's play the game, and then we'll talk about Sweetie Club inductees.
Oh boy! All right. So the
after that.
name of the game is Bad Australian
Can I get a wine
Accents.
refill before?
Oh, okay.
before?
So the name of the game is Bad Australian Accents, in which each of us will take a turn, and we will say a couple sentences in our best Australian accent. And you can't use a traditionally Australian accent. Like when we did Kindergarten Cop, I said you can't say "I'll be back" or like something that Arnold Schwarzenegger like always says, right? Because that's pretty easy. This you just have to just talk like as you normally would, but try to do it with an Australian accent. It's gonna be really funny and really hard and really terrible because, like we said, Australian is like the one accent I cannot fucking do unless I like really concentrate and think about it beforehand, which I have not done. So, good luck to both of us. Who wants to go first? Rock, paper, scissors.
Wait, are we just having a conversation, or we're
You just
saying
like start
random
talking
stuff?
random shit and like try to do it in an Australian accent. And we're just gonna keep going for like a minute or something, and like even if it's really bad, just keep going. So we'll both talk. Okay. Oi, I'm going to talk to you in my Australian accent now, and I'm going to try as best I can. It's getting weird.
I just say you're doing it, and you just open your mouth real wide like this. Is that a strategy?
Well, it starts out pretty good, but then it goes all to a different place. Oh, here I go. I got it.
That's
I think
pretty
I got
good.
it.
Oh, wow. Look at you. Look at you with your Australian accent.
You seem to just be like a Cockney person now.
I think I just heard all my accents.
I caught the bug. Where'd my Australian accent go? Oi. Anyway, so yeah. So now I'm a surfer dude. So like whatever. Good times.
Foster's Australian for beer.
There you go. You got it.
There you go.
You got it, Sheila.
Gonna
wow.
go walkabout.
It was really hard.
Good day, mate.
It's so
I was trying
hard.
to think of that. We watched this great mystery show called Miss Fisher's Mysteries. Such a good show. Recommended.
Murder mysteries?
Yep. I think there's three seasons, right? So good. So she actually lives in Melbourne, Australia. And I was trying to think of all those guys,
yeah.
but she's actually British, so I'm like, I don't remember her accent.
And
but-
the people that are Australian, I suppose, it's like a subtle. It's very subtle.
very
Like I
light.
didn't even know they were Australian until I complained to you about it, and I was like, nobody's Australian in the show. And you're like, well, the police chief totally is, and I was like, oh, I guess.
Yeah, but it is slight. But I always like think of it as like a very like relaxed British accent, right? So they're like not British, and they like drag out certain stuff like syllables like more or something.
No, because when you start thinking about it like that, that's when you turn it like weird Cockney. I think maybe South African is more like a little closer to British, but like a little different and like weirder. And I just feel like Australia is like its own beast, like it's its own thing, which they're probably pumped about. They're like, yeah, we are. We don't conform to any bullshit. But I mean, that makes sense, right? Because they were like a British colony, right? Yeah, because that's why Miss Fisher is British, right? Because
Yeah,
Great Britain owned. Or still
so,
does.
So originally, no. So they're their own country now, but they were originally. They remember like the
But
whole
don't
thing
they
is
still
they put,
like answer to the Queen or whatever?
Well, there's a lot of places that are like that, but they're not. They do have their own independence now. But originally, Australia was, remember, a penal colony. So what they would do is they would take all their prisoners and like put them there. But then I don't know like what that change was when actual like real people started living there. So interesting.
Is that also where they ate lobsters or no?
What? No, that was here. That was in the U.S. Oh my God. Remember that dumb story? I was like eating this. We used to go out to like all these seafood lunches, like when my old job, because like all these vendors would take us out.
It's not a dumb story. It's real.
And well, this kid who I worked with like didn't like lobster. And we were like, what is wrong with you? Like, who doesn't like lobster? And he's like, well, like they used to feed those to like convicts. It's like cheap meat. And I was like, dude, like they used to feed those to convicts because lobsters were so plentiful. There were so many in the ocean. They were just like washed up on the beach. Whereas now you have to have a trap and they're like a little bit more rare. I mean, not like extinct or anything.
Market price. That shit expensive.
Well, not recent. In the last couple of years though, the lobster's been so cheap.
What?
At restaurants, no. But like at fish markets, like
yeah.
No, I mean,
although I did see an article that said the price of scallops is probably going to go down,
Yes, I
which
saw
I'm
that too.
very
Me
excited
too. I have
about
to send
because
that to you.
scallops are a highway fucking robbery.
my
Okay,
God. Market
you can go
price, my
there.
ass.
Yeah, it's like $25 for like 3 scallops. Give me a break. Give me
market
a fucking
price is
break.
basically just like we're gonna screw you
Yeah,
up the
it's
butt.
basically like I'll say whatever it is that I want it to
exactly.
be, and you're gonna pay that.
Like you're not gonna know. Like
how do we know?
Like, who knows what the fucking market price is? I'd love to argue that with somebody.
I know.
Oh yeah, this
Be
is
like,
market
show
price.
me your papers.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me the phone.
Well,
with
I'm
the,
a fisherman.
the guy, you know, who owns the all the guy that's in charge of all the fishing boats. What's that called? Like
fishmonger.
it's like an actual job.
Shellfish commissioner or something like that.
It's like something.
Anyway, Australia, cool. Kind of want to go there. Never been. I'm going to do it at some point in my life. Long plane ride.
I
but
would love
I'm gonna do
to,
it.
but you know I'm not because I'm pretty sure there's giant spiders and I'm not going. Also,
There's other parts of it.
we had remember those eyewitness books, which were like picture books and were great, and you learned a lot of things. We had a bird one, which had a big picture of a spider in it, which I was very upset about.
Whales.
And then sharks.
Whales or sharks?
Sharks.
Sharks is my
So
favorite.
it's sharks, and they had a little section on Australia that, and it was like, oh my God, I'll never forget this image just as long as I live. It was a map of the world and little black dots showing where people have actually died or been attacked by a shark. And of course, the myth goes that like there's actually not a lot of shark attacks. But you look at this picture of the globe and it's like kind of like sporadic dots everywhere. And then Australia has a fucking like sea of black dots. And you're like, holy shit, I am not going to Australia ever. So my two big fears, obviously.
You don't have to swim there.
You're right. But still, the spider thing is like pretty daunting to me.
I also remember hearing this fact about like the ozone layer was like right over Australia. Do you remember this fact? And they had to like all these people were getting like horribly burned.
Oh,
You have to wear
God.
like a hat outside like all the time. I don't know. Maybe this is all like again like Sweetie Fables that I've just like made up. Who knows?
Well, it's just like if you're in the southern hemisphere, I think isn't it just like always going to be hot down there?
No, I don't
Like
know.
it's just like a stronger sun.
It is, but like also, don't they have the swap season thing?
Yes.
And also,
Yes.
don't they have the
toilets
toilet
go
water
the other
that
way?
goes the other way?
Yeah, it's so fascinating. I'm very fascinated by
Yeah.
that.
I hope someone listens from Australia and they're like, "Oh my god, this
You
is
guys are
garbage bags.
Insane. Yeah.
You guys are dumb." Because
jags.
honestly, like, I don't know a lot about Australia. I would love to visit it. Seems like a cool
Yeah,
place.
it would be fun, but
People
the
seem really
plane-
awesome.
yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do it
It's just
someday.
a shame that plane ride is probably terrible.
Yeah,
Unless
but you could break it up if you
get
want
first
to.
class and sit in a recliner like in this movie.
Yeah.
On Qantas.
or for first class where you like are in a bed,
well, that's what. Oh yeah.
like a bed.
Oh my God, I would.
It's a chair that turns into a
God,
bed. I mean, it's
my
gonna
life
awesome.
would be so much better
I know.
if that was just all
Someday,
the time.
sweetie. $5,000. There you
know.
go. Probably $10,000.
That's all the money I have.
Probably $10,000. Let's be real. $5,000 is like regular first class international.
Give me a break.
Okay, so continue with the segment. Inducting people into the Sweetie Club as we go. Tough call on this movie, as I had 4 people who I want to induct.
4? I knew about 2.
4.
Oh my God. Okay, lay them on me.
All right, Neve,
The Aboriginal guy who's actually from the city. Yes, I accept that.
Wally,
Wally, his little assistant old man, who I'm inclined to maybe veto because he got a little old man creepy rapey at the end. He was like doing weird hand motions about something that may have meant sex. I don't know. Unclear.
But maybe it had been a while for Mick, and he was just trying to like be like,
Right.
yeah, buddy.
Up for debate.
Pear-shaped bellboy.
Oh my God, you're obsessed with it. Sweetie is like
adorable.
Today, Sweetie
Just
came
like
in.
little-
Sweetie
like little-
came into this
little
movie
kid
today, and
glasses.
she like takes out her wallet, and I look at it, and there's this little picture of this pear-shaped bellboy, and I'm like, "Who dat?" And she's like, "That's a pear-shaped bellboy. I'm obsessed with him." Just kidding, but she's legit, guys. She's like obsessed with this guy, and I was like, "Does he have lines?" She's like, "Yeah, he has a whole scene. He has one. He's like one line." Sweetie's obsessed.
great
I don't think he's even
exchange.
credited as like a character.
He's a great
He's
exchange
credited
with Mick
but
when they-
as bellboy.
When they're obviously they had traded greetings for a couple days or weeks, and they were both like were speaking each other's language. It was so cute.
Which is English?
No, like their customs, like "Good day, mate," and he's like, I forget what the American one that he learns is. I don't remember. And then obviously Carl Winslow, limo driver.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So 4.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely allow the Aboriginal guy and Carl, whose name in the movie we
you
forget.
can have Ixnay Wally then, but I want pear-shaped.
Okay.
Wally.
Okay. I'll take pear-shaped. Okay. He does have funny glasses where they're like
little kid
They're like
glasses.
Coke bottles. Yeah, they're like really sweet. And he does have a really funny body, which is like super pear-shaped, or as we like to say, pudding pants.
Pants.
But
pudding
yeah,
pants.
he's cool. He's cool. Good times. All right. Well, congratulations and welcome to the Sweetie Club, you three. I hope you like it. Yeah,
The water is warm. Come on in.
you're in good company in the Sweetie Club. Anything else? That's it. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Twitter if you want to yell at us or me about how I said there's no conflict, which FYI was not saying I didn't like the movie, so fuck you in advance. Just kidding. But yeah, we're at the Sweetie Club, or we're on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Come and find us, follow us, hang out, chat with us, whatevs. We'll respond, or Sweetie will, because I'm like pretty lazy about it. But thanks for listening, and we love you.
Love yous.
Bye.
Byes.